Welcome to The Walk, Episode 2. I'm Brother John. This is Neriah and Nicole.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back. This is our second Volume 2, our second episode. Very exciting, right?
Yes, it is. I was so anticipating this day.
Yeah, I know.
About 3 weeks now.
Well, the first episode, we got a lot of good feedback. We had it up on the House of Spiritual Israel YouTube, which is House of Spiritual Israel. We had it on your YouTube, which is
Neriah Nicole, Sarah's daughter.
We put it on Facebook also, and we were just discussing that we're going to create a Facebook page for The Walk.
Yes.
So we also have a subtitle, which we didn't have the first time. Well, we added it by the time we got it on your YouTube, which is LIT, Living in Truth.
Yep.
And that's the essence of the show. The show is about those of us who live according to the Bible. It's not a particular denomination. It's not a religion. It's just living by the Bible and the difficulties we face, because even the Bible tells us we're going to face difficulties in this walk, correct?
Yes.
So that's what the show tries to focus on, is how we real life issues and how we circumvent and how we deal with the world while we go through this walk.
Yeah.
So this episode, though, is going to be a little different. Obviously, we're in a different set.
Yeah.
This is Neriah and Nicole's set, and we're going to do a few different things tonight. What are we doing tonight? We're going to have a segment where we discuss some things.
Yes.
And then what else are we doing?
So the first segment will be about an issue, a concern that plenty of us probably have gone through, and that is basically, how do we as believers deal with family members and close friends who are not in the truth?
This is probably the single biggest challenge that we face. You know, you can tell, there's a few things that you can tell when you come into this faith. You know, because, I mean, the first reaction when you tell people, well, everyone claims to have the real truth, right?
Yes.
Their religion, their faith, whatever. A few of the ways that we know is because we can read everything we say in the Bible. And we can even see modern events and the way things transpire reflected in what the Bible says would happen. And one of the biggest things Jesus told his followers is that your enemies will be those of your own household, meaning it'll actually, in some cases, once you make this conversion, it'll be the people closest to us, right?
Yes.
That are the most challenging to deal with.
Yeah.
And tonight we're going to just talk through some scenarios that we're familiar with of challenges that they have. And then what are we going to do after that? We got some other stuff happening.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know if I said it the last segment, but anyway, I am in the medical field, so one thing that I do hold close to me is health and how it is affecting the communities, especially the Hebrew community.
Yep.
You know, we are plagued with all types of diseases. The Lord said it would be that way.
That's right.
So we just want to bring out some of those diseases and help you to know what they are, to identify them, how you can treat them, and basically just have a conversation or dialogue about that. The third part of it is I found it's like a cooking part. So we're gonna show you like tonight, for instance, it will be about diabetes. So I found a diabetic meal that is good and yummy, and you know, we want the people to eat healthy and live healthy. So I'm going to be preparing a meal.
I'll be eating the meal.
Yeah.
That's what my job is. And the cooking part, is a good thing she's involved, because otherwise I'll be burning some toast or something like that. So well, it's exciting. And the show, as we go, we intend to have different features, different segments, different topics, and really, because life, as complex and as filled and as full life is, that's what we hope the show to reflect, is real life, not just talking all the time, maybe looking at things, different settings, different types of topics. So the first topic is dealing with family members and friends and just the world in general who are not in the truth.
That's right.
So you start, and then let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, recently I was approached by a friend who him and his wife are living in the truth, and they basically are going through an issue with family members who are not living in the truth. And The whole story is that she wants the family to be able to enjoy each other. You know, the family that's not in the truth, and
The extended family.
the extended family. So he's kind of compelled not to want to do that because he feels like they don't agree. And if two cannot agree, how can they walk together? So we want to just talk a little bit about that because we want to, you know, the name of the show is The Walk. You know, everybody is not going to be compelled to hear you or hear what you have to say. So your walk, your life, your daily living has to show and reflect what the Lord will want us to do, and that's kind of how to draw in people.
And how do we deal with some people just will not hear the truth, or
right.
They won't hear our walk. And some people, we don't always have the luxury of shaking the dust off, right? The Bible says when you go out and evangelize, if someone won't receive you, you're to leave them, vacate the premises, even to shake the very dust off your clothes as an indictment against them. But oftentimes we're talking mothers-in-laws, we're talking direct siblings, we're talking aunties and uncles. We don't have the luxury of...
we love.
Yeah, we don't have the luxury of ending relationships. I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but I kind of see it the brother's way. He wants to live righteously. He wants to raise his children correctly. He wants to have an atmosphere of truth. And if the one place you want to most have that is when children are involved, because they're so impressionable. And like you said, he points out scripture. If you are, how can two walk together unless they be agreed, right, as one? And if you're unequally yoked, that's another one that he cites. So I can kind of see his point, but do you agree, or how do you see it?
Well, I understand where he's coming from, but I don't believe that I totally agree. And the reason being is, like I said earlier, you know, our walk, you know, has to be seen. And you don't know what type of relationship will come out of that, in terms of if they end up saying, you know what, he's an upright guy, he's leading his family the right way, he's doing everything that he needs to do, you know, maybe I will serve his God, maybe I will leave this other these other fake false gods alone, and maybe I will, you know, check it out.
Well, who exactly is he? I mean, it's got to be someone specific that they're having some sort of contention with, or what is the scenario other than, I mean, is there something specific, or is it just in general?
Well, I think what's going on is that the family member is a part of a church.
Sunday church.
A Sunday church. And I don't know if he's the pastor or he's like a deacon or someone like that in the church. But he's a part of the church, and they keep going back and forth on scripture.
The brother and him.
Yes, the brother and the family member.
You know, and if you're in the Sunday church still, that's fine. But there's scriptures that kind of talk about this. When Jesus says you can't put new wine in old wineskins, right? What he's talking about is sometimes one of the challenges we face with people who are very active in a Sunday church is that they're so full of that doctrine that you can't even, anything you give them, they can't receive. And what Jesus is talking about there is if you're trying to put this new doctrine into this old person, they're so filled they have to first become new themselves to be able to receive it. So I think that's the challenge the brothers probably have, because here's a Sunday person that probably is pretty well acquainted with the Bible, and what they believe that it's telling them. And so then they just end up having a back and forth with it, right?
Like they have knowledge, but they don't have understanding.
Right.
And I think also a problem for him is that the brother is younger. He's the younger out of the two. And so the elder feels like, I'm the elder, you're supposed to listen to me, And he's letting them know it doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that.
That's true.
You know, everybody that you come across that's in this world is not going to be younger than you. As you get older, there's always going to be somebody new coming up. So
That's
you're
right.
going to have to deal with that. And but that's the crazy thing is some people have a really hard time with that. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't be listening to you. But if somebody's telling you something right,
That's right.
no matter what age or what color or whatever the case,
That's
if
right.
they're telling you what thus saith the Lord,
There it is.
you're supposed to listen.
Amen. Well, it's a tough thing, but so this brother wants to live righteously.
Mm-hmm.
He's tired of the contention,
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying, well, we're called to lead by example in this
Yeah.
truth. But I can see his point, because sometimes there's some people you just can't reach, and there's some people you gotta love. You gotta love as a walking example without words. Sometimes you just can't have that dynamic. You know, I usually say, we can talk all the book you want, but if you don't want to talk book, if we just can't come to any sort of agreement, then we can talk football. We can just forget about the book. Or I usually say that with people that don't believe in the book, when they
Right.
start giving you the, well, a man wrote the book stuff.
Right.
Where of course,
man wrote every book.
right, of course, every bit of knowledge they got, a man wrote. But when they start attacking the word itself, I just say, okay, well then never mind. If you don't believe the word, we'll talk baseball,
Right.
football, basketball, whatever.
And I believe he's been trying to do that, and it still is something about this gentleman where he doesn't want to let it go. So I told him, I said, well, there's nothing you can really do about that. What it is it's creating a rift for his wife
Yeah.
and her aunt, because they want to fellowship. They want to be together as a family.
Yeah.
But these two men on the outside are playing this tug of war game.
So unlike us.
So it's like putting a rift in between the females of the family.
Well, as much as, and I know I started out siding with the brother.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Bible does call for us to be long-suffering. And what does that look like? I know in my personal instance, it took me 6 months. I started out in my walk, this walk,
Mm-hmm.
actively seeking to disprove the doctrine that I was being shared. Brother Will, you met Brother Will, who got me into the truth.
Yeah.
And we worked together, and he would come by and show me scriptures and show me verses. And I got all puffed up because I was just, I'd been active in the Sunday church. I'd been assisting with assisting the priest. I was like sort of a deacon, and would be a deacon. And so I was just bound and determined to prove him wrong. But I did an honest and diligent study of the word and what he was sharing, and it came out to be that I was converted. And that's what it requires sometimes, is to make that search. But my point is, we don't just instantly convert sometimes,
Right.
And sometimes your fiercest critics turn out to be your staunchest allies. And the case in point would be St. Paul.
That's what
Look at his role.
Yeah.
I mean, he was persecuting the church. He was a zealot. He was locking them up, jailing them, killing, whatever he had to do. He had letters. He was on the way to Syria, with Damascus,
Right.
with letters from the chief priest that would give him the authority to just jail or kill whomever, that any Christian, when Jesus struck him blind and
Right.
converted him.
Right.
So I guess we are called to be long suffering, and maybe that's what it takes. But patience.
That's the thing, is like, what does long suffering look like?
That's true.
People think long suffering. Oh well, long suffering means just to just keep. What is it that I say? Basically, when it came to me one time about long suffering, Jesus had to suffer long, and he's still suffering,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So we have to suffer like Jesus. We have to.
But what if they reject the word out and out?
Well, then we have to do what Jesus did.
I think at a certain point, I think he's going to turn them over.
Right. So.
However, I think in long suffering, and I tend to agree with you, it ties into, say, for example, when wasn't it Peter that asked, how many times shall I forgive my brother?
Right.
and he said even 7 times. And Jesus said 7 times 77, which I think is 490 something,
Right.
490. So if there is a sincere regret for harm someone's done you, and they're repenting of it, then yes, we're obligated to forgive them. And if someone's not, if they're still open to discourse, constructive discourse, then I think we need to hang in there. Some
Right.
people just take longer.
And see, and what I also had to explain, because the wife explained to me as well that she has been talking to her uncle, and it doesn't seem to be this tug of war when she talks
So maybe
to
that's
him.
just male to male dynamic.
Yes.
And I know if the uncle's older, yeah, and there is that whole dynamic that, you know, I as an official old dude, we don't always like young bucks to school us, but like you say, sometimes out of the mouths of babes, you know,
Yeah.
comes the real truth. And I think we are obligated as people of faith to be humble, and if we hear the truth, and we just have to take correction where we can find it. You know, correction, this is a great topic in general that we need to spend a whole segment on. It's just correction is, you know, we as Bible Christians, that's what I call me, a Bible Christian.
Right.
So I do everything in the Bible, and I believe in the words and works of Jesus. The Bible says over and over, especially you get into the Old Testament, the Psalms, Proverbs, you know, don't shun correction, don't despise correction, because your father will correct, he'll chastise his son. But then we get out in the world,
Right.
and we don't like being corrected all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that often can cause its own set of challenges, I think. And it sounds like if the wife is able to talk to the older gentleman,
Right.
maybe there's some of that going on where maybe he doesn't like this, because you know the truth. I think we mentioned it last week. If not, I'll mention it now. You come into the faith, you're going to learn a lot about the Bible, because everything for us is the Bible. We're not just going to take your word for it.
Right.
You come up and tell us something, we're going to say, read that to us.
Right.
So it's not long before you know a lot more book than the average Sunday Christian. And I guess maybe that's part of the dynamic too.
Yeah.
Getting schooled.
Yeah.
But you know, and it extends beyond just that. We're going to deal with this at work.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with this. And work is especially, I don't know how you've dealt with this at work. Work has got a lot of pitfalls, you know. So I'm a manager, I'm a supervisor. So I have like a double, it's one thing to have a peer that you're sharing stuff with, and they
Right.
may or may not like it, and that could have its own issues. But when you're a boss and you're trying to share the word, and somebody takes umbrage or something, and they want to go to HR, that could be big trouble.
You got to know when to cut it
Yeah,
off.
you got to know when maybe that's not the place. You
Right.
know, we are called to evangelize, but you have to be real careful in a professional setting,
Yeah.
because anymore they don't want you to mention anything.
Right.
Like, they are so adverse. They tell us, you know, when we get talked to by HR constantly,
Right.
and we have to really avoid those sorts of
But-
conversations.
Yeah, but then also you also have nowadays these politically correct workplaces where they embrace everybody's culture and everybody's religion.
Except the
You have
Bible.
Right. Well, you start to see that, you know.
Yeah, that seems to be the
Right.
trend.
Like
It seems to be the
everything
trend.
and everybody, you can do certain things. Like even with like the Israelites. You know, I might come to work like right now, my hair is pressed out or something, but I might want to wear it in a traditional Hebrew Israelite style, or I might want to wear a head covering.
Right.
But then they would say, well, that's not uniform.
Right.
That's not, you can't wear it like that. But then you'll see a Muslim woman come in with a hijab on.
Yeah, and they have no
covered
problem.
up.
Nobody say nothing
Nobody
about
says anything to them, but to me, they'll say something too. So
Yeah, no, you're
you have
right.
to be careful. You just have to balance. You got to know where you're working, and you got to know what to say and when to say it. And I believe
Yep.
the Lord gives you that anyway.
And the other thing, you talk about living as an example, that a professional setting is where you can really be an example.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a lot of words,
Nope.
because you can believe I have a Bible in or on my desk at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody happens to see me read it, I didn't have to say a word to them. They saw me. If they happen to notice what I do and I don't eat, I didn't have to say anything to them about that unless they asked me, of course.
Right.
Or maybe a quiet prayer before work. We don't start crossing each other up and that sort of stuff. But you can notice when somebody's having a quiet word,
Right.
saying a grace before a meal. And, if you're that example,
Or even just the one that's not keeping strife at the job.
yeah.
I work with a lot of women, and with a lot of women comes a lot of chit chatter.
She said that. I didn't say that.
But
I'm calling YouTube saying I'm sexist.
But what I'm trying to say is that just by your humbleness and your meekness, it says a lot. You not saying anything says a lot, and that's one thing I know that the Lord is most definitely working on with me. It's just even when I know I'm right, and I know that the situation is not in my favor, I just have to let Him handle that.
That's right. No,
I
right.
have to go into, I've already had to do it. Like, I've had to go into my prayer corner. I've had to fast, and really, get to the bottom of whatever I was going through. But the Lord brought me through that because I kept my mouth silent.
The senior pastor at Israel of God, he preaches, Brother Bowie, he'll preach and he'll say, people tell you they want to argue the Bible. That's because they don't know nothing. He says if they knew something, you couldn't shut them up. And I think that's just the nature of people in general. If you know the answer and you're right, you want to tell somebody about it. It's hard to sometimes bite your tongue, but sometimes we are called to be humble. And if we true people of faith, we know that the Lord is for Him to deal with. Sometimes He's got to bring it to somebody. They may not accept it from me. They may not accept it from you.
Right.
And if we fast on it, if we pray on it, then miracles definitely can happen. And we've seen that in our own lives.
Exactly.
In our own professional
Fasting
lives.
and prayer really, really works.
Yeah.
It may not work in a way that you think it's going to work in, or the way that you want it to work in. It could just be like you really fasting and praying because you want this person to get something done too. But it might come that you are able to handle the situation. Yeah. He may give you that strength and that confidence to just go through whatever it is you're going through. So I suggest, and I didn't even suggest that to the couple, but I will. I'm like, you need to fast and pray on this situation as to what the Lord will have you to do on it.
That's a great point. Rarely are we stuck, and if we're feeling stuck, that's when we need to hand it over to God.
Yeah.
Because He's the one that's going to He's going to clear the obstacles. He's going to show us the path, even we don't even see it. Then all of a sudden we see it. So that's a great point. Especially if you're at loggerheads with someone, that's a great time to turn it over to the Lord. Let Him deal with it.
There's nothing else you can do with it.
Amen to that. Let's see how long we talked. Oh man, we got over 20 minutes. We ran long on that one. So we're going to take a break. We're going to set up for our next segments. We're going to get into some health, and we're going to get into some food, and then I'm going to get fed. So we'll be right back on the walk. And we're back on the walk, segment 2. Well, it might be segment 3. We might do any segment we want. So we're going to talk about some health issues, right?
That's right.
And really a health issue that profoundly affects the Israelites, African Americans.
Yeah.
So you're the health expert. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, tonight we're going to talk about diabetes.
That's a killer.
Sugar. But I want to first preference this all because the Lord said that when in our disobedience that He would give us all the diseases of the other nations.
That's right.
So, by me working in the medical field, I see it. It's so blatant, it's so scary.
How that word comes to, you see it in real life.
It comes into fruition because we can have someone come into where I work at, and it could be a Gentile,
Mm-hmm.
someone of another nation, and they come in because they burnt their finger, or they need treatment for that. But majority of our population are of the Hebrew Israelite ethnicity, and it's sad. And it just makes me want to cry sometimes, because we could have somebody come in, and they could come in with coughing, but their medical records would show that they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they have kidney failure, they have HIV, they have
Sickle cell sometimes, or other blood ailments, right?
yes. And when I say, how is this person still standing?
Yeah.
Like, they have everything in the book,
Hmm.
or everything. How are they still living? You know, and that's nothing but the grace of God. Like, He's
Amen.
still trying to, even in that sickness, He's still trying to give you a way to get back to Him. He's prolonging your life even
That's right.
in your sickness. You know, so I'm not a doctor. I'm not a registered nurse, but I am a medical assistant, and I do. I have taken plenty of biology classes, and college degree. So I do want to bring up some issues that are really relevant in our community, and one of them is diabetes.
All right. Well, let's hear about it.
So diabetes, and excuse me because I'll be looking at my notes, but diabetes mellitus, type 1 and type 2, also known as hyperglycemia and sugar. That's what most people refer to as. Diabetes mellitus is a Greek word, and it means, diabetes means to pass through, and mellitus is honey or sweet. So when people talk about diabetes, you'll hear like some of the old people say, it's spilled over in my blood, or it's it's in my blood.
Right.
Well, what they mean by that is because our bodies have to absorb, our body cells have to absorb sugar to get energy.
That's right.
So in order to do so, we need another hormone, which is called insulin.
Right.
So the way people get diabetes is because their bodies is not either producing enough insulin, or it's producing enough, but the cells are not absorbing the sugar.
So it's not getting processed.
Right.
Yeah, a guy I worked with told me his story. He had type 2. What's the type that you...
Type 1 is
hereditary?
Type 1 is juvenile.
Okay.
So that can affect, well, they used to call it juvenile because it affected mostly young adults and young children. But type 2 is more so the hereditary type, and it's going to affect anybody at any age.
Well, he got the type that it wasn't necessarily genetic, but it was a result of his poor diet.
Right, so that's type 2.
Okay, yeah, he got that. And what I didn't know, and maybe you're going to get to this, he said his numbers were so off in such a negative way that it made his blood much thicker and syrupy.
I can't pronounce that word.
So you're familiar with this. I'd never heard this. So, which makes sense how bad that would be, because your heart's got to work so much harder to circulate the blood and that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
But
So,
there's all my knowledge on diabetes.
When someone is diagnosed with diabetes, it's either because their bodies do not, like I said, does not produce enough insulin to absorb the glucose, which is sugar, or the insulin that your body naturally produces is not enough to absorb the glucose into the cells. So in turn, it builds up in your blood system. Okay. And it starves the cells.
Wow.
So that's why a lot of times when you see people with diabetes, they always talk about how tired they are.
Because their sugar's not getting to their cells.
Yes, because you have to have ATP, but that's all into that biology of cell development and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into all that tonight.
All right.
But ATP is what you need to get energy.
Okay.
So, so like I said, type 1 diabetes is considered juvenile diabetes because majority of the people who developed this diabetes was children and young adults, and that's how it got its name. However, they've now found out that you could get it at any point, at any stage in your life.
Type 1.
Type 1. And also, it is considered an autoimmune disease. Type 1 disease.
Wow.
Type 1 diabetes.
Which for some reason, autoimmune diseases, I don't know if we're just better aware of them, but it seems like the incidence of those are so much greater nowadays.
Yeah.
Whether it's lupus, whether it's the whole host of them, arthritis, the other
Right.
different autoimmune disease, which it's your body's attacking itself.
Right.
It's pretty scary, really, when you think
Yeah.
about all of these autoimmune
Yeah.
disorders.
And the sad thing about it is, like, sometimes, like with lupus, and you can get these things and you're living fine, and then all of a sudden you're afflicted with
That's
these
right.
things, and
That's right.
you have to change your whole lifestyle.
Well, diabetes, I mean, your diet, right, has got to be changed profoundly.
Exactly.
Much low sugar, correct? Is that what
Right.
it's lower sugar and complex sugar?
Well, carbohydrates, you
Yeah.
know, because carbohydrates, they turn into sugars.
That's right.
So people think about the table sugar and the sugar from fruits and vegetables.
But
and
even
stuff like
bread
that.
is sugar,
That's
right?
carbohydrate.
Yeah,
So
turns-
you know you gotta break it down. You can't eat those sandwiches anymore.
Right.
Like, you know.
But you should eat complex carbs instead of, so avoid white breads, white rices.
Yes.
You definitely want to have whole grains, right?
Yes.
So I know a little bit about nutrition. You
Yeah.
wouldn't know it, but I used to be working out a lot a long time ago. But so you want to definitely have complex carbohydrates because your body, it doesn't spike your sugar as much, and it takes longer to digest, keeps you fuller.
Yes.
A lot of benefits to it.
Right. Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So that leads us to type 2 diabetes, which is the one that we really want to talk about, and that's adult onset diabetes. Now, this can be controlled and cannot be prevented. Can be controlled but cannot be prevented, which that does not make sense. So I think I wrote that wrong, but it can be controlled. You don't have to get this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's preventable.
Basic. Yeah, it's preventable. That's what I meant to put. It's the most common out of the two, and mostly due to improper use of insulin called insulin resistance. So, if not treated, it can be detrimental to other organs.
Oh yeah, the way my friend made us. When I think of diabetes, I think of guys like me that are overweight, and
But you don't have to be.
I know I don't have to be. Well, I'm fighting genetics too.
No, what I'm saying.
Oh, it doesn't have to be
You
the
don't have
reason.
to be. Yeah.
That's just busting on me, man. So in my friend's case, he's in great shape, ex-military, stays very active, but he said it was strictly a matter of his diet.
Yeah.
He would, big donuts in the morning for breakfast, and always have chocolate bars throughout the day, and he just had so much sugar in his diet that I guess his body, maybe it was the type where it couldn't process it as quickly.
Right.
And so now his diet is so significantly changed.
And see, that's another thing. That's another topic we're gonna need to talk about: the foods, the processed foods that we eat.
Oh yeah. Horrible.
The unhealthy diets that we have with the lack of exercise.
I'm gonna tell on a friend of mine. I went out to California about a month or two ago, and an old friend of mine, and he used to be a runner, and he still goes to the gym and stuff, but every day. So the one thing I did learn when I was dieting and exercising is how to eat better.
Right.
Every day this guy would go to McDonald's and get like these burgers and stuff, and it was just nasty. I mean, it's got to be the cholesterol and the fat involved. I mean, it was, and the sugar in those foods as well.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of sugar in a Big
Salt.
Mac and salt. I mean, I was
Hypertension.
trying to tell this guy, and to make it worse, he's one of those guys who don't believe in doctors. But I was like,
Oh,
brother, you
see,
cannot eat like
yeah.
that. You cannot do that.
And see, that's the thing. This food is killing us. If we do not take an active stance on what we're
That's
eating,
right.
you know, in terms of like going back to the old, I always say go back to the old days. If it wasn't broke, why did we try to
Well,
fix
you
it?
know,
They fixed everything from scratch.
you brought up another point. There's something else they did in the old days. They had a different type of wheat. So our wheat has been genetically modified, and there's a reason we need to avoid these genetically modified foods. It's been genetically modified to grow much bigger, but it produces less nutrients. And then the milling process is now different. It used to be stone milled.
Right.
Now it's milled with metal instead of stone. And so the result is a wheat that is much more nutrient vacant. And you know, real good flour with whole grain from the old style wheat would only keep a few days.
Right.
This new genetically modified stuff, you can put flour in your cabinet for a year or two, right?
Right.
It doesn't be, and that's one of the benefits to it. But one of the negatives is that there's no nutrients in it, and that's why we, as Americans especially, always crave more breads and more carbs because we're not getting enough nutrients. If we go back to the old wheat and go back to the old stone ground wheat, we'd be much fuller, we'd be much healthier, and we wouldn't crave as much carbs.
Right. And the crazy thing about that, Brother John, is like, you know something's up with this bread when the birds won't eat it.
Right.
One day I went outside to put some of this bread we had out, and the bread
just like, no, I'm good.
It's like
good.
they actually rather for me to throw some chicken out there than to
And
go
then there's
over there.
these cats on the internet that will like do stuff to the food, just like saying try to catch it on fire, do some just crazy stuff with the food nowadays. And we cannot just just because it's a big known national brand. That doesn't mean they have our best interests.
They
you know, we owe it to ourselves to arm ourselves with information.
Yeah. Yes, and you most definitely have to check those ingredients because you know, this is the time that we're living in and the place that we're living in, they are doing all sorts of crazy stuff to our food.
And just like you said, we're talking about diabetes. This is a preventable condition in many people. My friend at work, I mean, like I said, this guy is in better shape in terms of he's leaner than I am, more active, but his diabetes was wholly the result of his poor diet.
Yeah.
So look at the difference. Now he's not even Israelite.
Right.
You guys, you already have strikes against you because you know you read Deuteronomy 28, you'll know about the curses.
Right.
So, and like you say, the Lord said He's going to put all these conditions on all these health issues.
Yeah.
So because of that, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're eating, putting in your body. You got to stop going through the drive-through every day, eating all this processed food, fried foods. Lots of breads and stuff, and sugar, and salt, man, and stuff, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Kill you. All right, what else you got? We still talking about?
Yeah, well, we want to go through some of the signs and symptoms so
there
people can be more aware.
Absolutely.
And then they can also go to your doctor, get checked out. These things you have to do. You know, I know we don't like to go to the doctors, but you have to at least go and get checked out. Then
I know a few people that will literally tell me, oh, the only time I'm fine until I go to the doctor, then they tell me I got some. But I was fine if I didn't. I'm like,
people die.
Brother, you got to go to the doctor now.
People die like that.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
It's serious.
I mean, this is thousands of years of science involved. You know, a little something. You know, I'm actually amazed at some of the stuff that they know.
At least in the beginning stages, you can almost do like holistic stuff.
That's right.
And I'm a firm believer. I believe in the holistic stuff. I will do that before I go to the westernized medicine. But I still believe in the westernized medicine if it's done correctly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you have a practitioner who is looking at everything and you are investigating, that's another thing Israel does not do. We do not investigate our own conditions. We leave it up to the physicians. My doctor said.
Yeah, but they're so quick to just prescribe something. They're so quick to, run some unnecessary tests or not run the right tests.
Exactly.
You really do owe it to yourself. And what we're talking about in terms of the diet, this is something you can fix, and it just takes a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more investigation, and just change your dietary habits.
Yep.
And there's so much benefits you could end up people with hypertension. You know, they say if you change your diet, just do a little moderate exercise. Right. You can, people getting off their hypertension pills, they don't have to take them anymore. Diabetes is very manageable or goes away. A lot of benefits to living a healthy lifestyle. Keeping the dietary laws,
that's
brothers and
number
sisters.
one.
Getting rid of the pork and the shrimp, the crab.
Yep. And it's crazy because I was talking to a Gentile gentleman in one of the stores.
European white folks.
That was in the store, and he told me, he said, yeah, I used to be a drug addict. And this is an older gentleman. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. I'm like, well, praise God, you delivered from that. He was like, no, I used to be a drug addict because the doctor had me on 50,000 pills.
Yeah, they'll do that.
You know? Do that. And he said, you know what he said he did? He stopped eating meat.
Really?
And he came off of all of them.
Wow. Yeah, I know a lot of people have gotten serious injuries and they get overprescribed pain medication. It becomes a real issue for them. So you gotta be careful. Yep. You gotta be careful. It's not always good just because the doctor's doing it for you.
Right. So we're gonna get into these signs and symptoms. Okay. Some of the signs and symptoms of diabetes is dehydration. It leads to extreme thirst or hunger. Yep. And you will find people with diabetes will have weight loss, increased urination. They also have nerve issues where they will have the tingling and the numbness in the extremities. Like we said before, feeling tired, low energy. Changes in your skin, abnormal slow healing of sores and itching and dry skin. Changes in your vision where you have more blurred vision. And also what is a big indicator is the fruity sweet odor that your body gives off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Your breath is also in your urine.
Because you got so much sugar.
Yep, it's spilling over into your blood, so your bloodstream. So when you urinate, it literally smells sweet.
Wow.
So that is a big indicator. Okay. So like we were saying, who is affected by it? Majority type 1 diabetes, as stated before, children and young adults are usually affected by it. With type 2 diabetes, African American and Native Americans are the 2 top tier people. Wow. As well as Latinos, and coming in last is the Pacific Islanders.
Well, I know that in the case of the American Indian, there's a lot of stuff that they never had in their diet that the Europeans, my people, introduced when we got here. But they're genetically, they're more susceptible to it. Alcohol treats them different.
Fire water.
Yeah, fire water. I mean, I've been in Alaska around a lot of the natives up there, and you see
they don't have the enzymes to break.
Yeah, they're not. They have a much lower tolerance, and then even the flu has killed. When the flu was introduced to this country, it wiped out whole tribes of Native Americans. So you're not exposed to it. You don't build up the antibodies and such. All right.
And also the last group is the elderly. You know, because your immune systems are starting to break down, and you can't fight off things as you used to when you were younger. So they have less activity. So they sit longer. They probably don't eat all the right stuff because they can't prepare.
A lot of times they can't afford it. They got to go with. I mean, poor people don't eat as well because you can go get a lot of food cheap at some place. There's a $1 menu at the drive-through, you know what I mean? Right. But you can't.
People are looking to fill their belly.
That's right. As much as they can with the little bit of money they got. So.
And it's so interesting what you said about the bread and all the stuff that we eat is not filling.
That's right.
And that's why you want more, And I
but even that's a challenge because you go to a place like Whole Foods, and I'm not just picking on Whole Foods, but their prices, what they call them. What's the joke? Whole paycheck. You shop at
I
whole
never heard
paycheck,
that
yeah.
one.
So because you want quality stuff, it costs more. That's just the reality of it. So it is a challenge when you're on a limited budget or
Right.
fixed income, especially the elderly.
Right.
You're sedentary. You can't afford to really eat right, take care of yourself, exercise. Although honestly, walking around the block don't cost nothing.
That's right.
So you can do a little exercise,
Yeah.
but I think the key is probably just to be conscious, do some research, make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
I mean, but it's the stuff our moms taught us: eat a lot of greens and vegetables, right?
Right.
Exercise. If we do all that stuff they told us when we were kids, usually we'll be all right.
Right.
Usually.
Yes. Yep. And like we said before, going to get tested, and all it is a simple blood draw. I know a lot of people who don't want to.
Is it normal to get, like, if you get generic blood work? I know sometimes they do a workup.
Yes.
Is that one of the things they would test?
Yeah, most
Okay.
definitely, because you're going to do what is called a complete metabolic panel,
Yeah.
or basic metabolic panel,
Yeah.
and those things, they do test for your sugar inside those
Okay, good.
panels. And if they come back high, like right now, I work in a center where we do point of care testing,
Mm-hmm.
so I can draw your blood and I can get those results in 5 minutes.
Oh wow.
So on that particular blood draw, I'll see all your metabolic levels,
Right.
and one of them is sugar.
Good.
And then if it's high, sometimes we've gotten people where it doesn't give us a reading because
Is that
it's
one
so
of-
high.
Is that one of the reasons they have us fast before, like when?
Yes,
So they don't want to have it artificially high because of the food you just ingested.
right. That, and also cholesterol purposes too. So, yeah. And then that also is another test, which test you would do if you were generally these people who are diagnosed with diabetes, they have this done. It's called the A1C.
Yeah, I've heard of that actually.
And that A1C is done on like a quarterly type basis, every 3 months or something like that, where they check that, they monitor that. But you also, if you are diagnosed with it, they give you like a glucometer.
Right.
And you check that daily.
Yeah,
every
daily, and
morning.
they make and they're making devices that are less in the old days you had to really
Right. And
prick,
it's
and
not,
now
it's just like
not
you
as right.
squeeze just a tiny bit of blood,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Check your level.
But they also have this thing. It's called a what is it called? I had it on here, but I don't think it's actually implantable
Oh really?
for people who have diabetes.
I'm not getting nothing implanted.
That's
on
what I said.
I'm
I said I don't trust that one for
me.
nothing.
Especially in my right hand and in my forehead.
And that's why I'm bringing this to the forefront, because
No.
they do have what they call, that's too much power.
Yeah.
Because they have it
There's,
for
right.
Basically what it is, it's just an implant that they do to tell you when your sugar is
Right,
low.
but it can also sell other things. It can
Exactly.
look at other levels and
Right.
and under the guise of your health is how soon science is going to more and more try to
Control.
introduce things like implants into our
Mhm.
bodies.
Yep.
And biblically, there's a reason why we want to avoid that.
Yes.
So we'll do a whole segment on it.
Yes.
But just
But yeah, just
things
know
to
that that's
consider.
out
Yeah,
there.
it's out there, and
And,
more and more people want to stick stuff in your body, and I don't think enough's known yet. So you might want to avoid that.
Yep. So,
All right.
But that's basically what I wanted to go over. It's just some of the little basics
Yeah.
of diabetes.
Well, it's very serious, and I know there's brothers, mostly brothers, I think, but
Mhm.
brothers and sisters who know that you have a history with this, and you're ignoring it. It's the last thing you want to do. You gotta be seen, be tested, test regularly,
Change your diet.
change your diet, do some exercise, do the things that you're supposed to do, because there's plenty of death around.
Yes.
No need. It would be a senseless one. A lot of
Right.
times it's senseless. All right. Well, very good.
Yeah.
Some good information. We are now going to change the set because
We're
it's
going
cooking
into the
time.
kitchen.
All right. So we'll be right back on the walk. All right, we're back on the walk. You don't see me, but you hear me.
Hey.
This is the Neriah, Nicole, Burn It Down show.
Yes.
All right, so what's going on?
So, we told you about diabetes, and I know some of the hang-ups for people is that they don't want to comply to a diabetic diet because they feel like there's nothing they can eat that's good or or if it's nutritional, it's just nasty. So I wanted to bring a recipe. It's called lemon chicken piccata. It's an Italian chicken with lemon. We got
Lemon and chicken.
lemon and chicken, but it has other little stuff in there, like a little bit of white wine. So I'm just going to start cooking and let you guys see the
I'm in the
outcome.
way. I gotta get out of the shot. See how professional we are? All right, go ahead. Show it. Do it up.
Okay, so we're going to turn on the front burner to high. And what we have here is 2 chicken breasts that I cut down the middle. And we have also the powder, not the powder, the flour. Okay?
Flour power.
Yes. So we're going to heat the pan, and we're going to pour a little bit of olive oil in it.
You see the pan smoking, so it's getting hot quick.
Yes. Well, that's just some dirty
Oh,
rings down there. My kids probably were in
no,
the
you
cooking,
didn't
didn't
have to.
clean
Yeah,
up.
that would be me too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna tell you a story while you cook, unless you got to talk us through this part.
Nope.
So I went to Rome back in 2011, and I had the worst booking. See, when you go to Europe, like Rome,
Right.
you think, hey, it's only 10 miles outside of Rome. It's
Right.
the suburbs.
Right.
They don't have suburbs in Rome. You have Rome, and then civilization ends at the city line, and then it's all these little villages and stuff like that. I knew I had booked poorly when I was on this train going to my hotel, and this dude who spoke English said, why are you coming out here? So I was like, okay. So I didn't end up staying, but I stayed one night
Right.
in this little village called Tondo, Italy.
Okay.
And they said, nobody speaks English, but the hotel did. They said, go up to the village square, there's a restaurant, and we've told them you're coming. Order the tourist special, because in Europe they don't give you like meat and vegetables and
Right.
salad, right? You have to order
a
it
la
all in.
carte.
Yeah. But they said they have it for you Americans, the tourist special, they'll do all that.
Right.
So I went up there and it was a lemon pan-fried chicken, just like you're
Okay.
doing now. And it might be the same thing.
Right.
I say all this to say it was the best meal I had in Italy.
Oh.
So we'll see if Neriah and Nicole can keep up to Tondo, Italy.
Okay, well, let's see, because I said I want something quick, because most people don't have a lot of time to cook.
Right.
And I want something that's going to be savory and got a lot of flavor to it.
Nice.
And it's going to be nutritional. So you're going to get your protein, and then we're going to also do a little side salad with the meal. I know a lot of people don't like salads, but they are really useful. I mean, we need to have that green
The fiber. Keep things moving.
vitamins and minerals, all that, everything that's inside of those green roughage.
That's right.
So we need that. So
So you let the oil get hot, now you're putting
Yeah.
it in.
so you shake off some of this flour.
Did you salt and pepper it as well?
Yes, I put salt and pepper inside the flour,
Okay.
any kind of seasoning inside the flour. So we're gonna let that cook for probably about 3 or 4 minutes. You can keep it on high. So we're done with this.
So one of the things I do is I always overcook the chicken because I'm afraid to undercook the chicken.
Right.
So how long should you reasonably cook this per side? I love our professional shot. It's empty right now.
I know, right?
Two voices in a pan. Here we'll do some custom.
No, I'm coming back.
We'll do some custom shots.
Okay.
There's the pan. All right, go ahead. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so basically you want to cook it for like 3 to 4 minutes
Per side.
per side.
At high though, so it's got to be good and hot.
Yes.
Okay.
And
How do you know when it's done? Just 3 or 4 minutes went
It's
by,
a
or
brown. They say they want it to brown.
okay. Well, that is quick.
Yep. And then thin slices, because it tells you, the recipe tells you that if it is thick, to cut the breast in half, which I did, into 2 halves.
There you go.
So you want to just turn these over. I'm one that likes to keep turning stuff over anyway. Like I mess with my food while I'm cooking.
There you go. Well, I've had your food. It's good, so I can vouch for it.
Thank you. I try to cook.
Yeah, we got the feast coming up.
Yeah.
Which, we keep the biblical feasts, which those in the walk do, and Passover's coming up, and immediately after Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Yep.
And that was that high day they had to get ready for, and that wasn't Good Friday.
I already got my matzah.
Do you? So, we have a sister that goes to the Baltimore camp I attend who makes some homemade unleavened bread. I'm going to definitely avail myself of that. But, so that's a whole week we have to eat no leavening in our bread. No leavened cupcakes or cakes or bread or anything. But there's a lot of creative things you can do. I take that matzah that you have and I make a pizza out of it.
Oh, okay.
So you put the sauce and some cheese, a lot of mozzarella and stuff, and that comes out real nice as a little homemade crispy pizza.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
And you can put other stuff. You can put spinach. You can put, turkey pepperoni. You can put whatever. Green pepper, red pepper.
Well, I don't do all that. I just eat it because I like it. I like it.
I don't mind it, but I don't mind saltine crackers either. And that's
right. Yeah. See, I eat pretzels all the time, so same difference to me.
Oh, it's cooking now.
Yeah, it's cooking. So it's like a real quick, easy recipe that I just wanted to bring, show you guys. It looks really well seasoned. Because I did put a little salt and pepper in there, and I put, it didn't call for it, but I put some liquid dash in there. That give it more flavor.
Is that a salt substitute?
Yeah, it is. Like
Okay, going back to the diabetes.
Right. So I turn it down.
Eating healthy.
Yep. And I also had my vegan butter that I use.
Vegan butter?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's plant-based butter versus cow's milk.
Y'all should see the look on my face right now.
Actually, it's good. And Sister Tish was the one who turned me on to that. And I was like, oh, fake butter, because I'm a butter person.
So probably most people watching, or many people, don't know who Sister Tish is. I imagine we'll meet her before too long, but this sister has got a very vast knowledge of eating healthy stuff. Of what to avoid, of what to look for, and what to look out for. Oh yeah, it's getting brown now.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to take this out now. We're just going to remove it for a minute. Now we're going to make the sauce. And that is going to consist of some white wine. So we're going to do like
You know what, I'm trying to get up close.
1/3 of white wine.
Okay.
And just pour it into the pan. And we're going to do 1/3 of the lemon juice. Freshly squeezed lemon juice, I might add.
Pulp, no pulp, doesn't matter?
I don't like pulp, so I did no pulp. It doesn't say. Alright. So we got that going on. And I think that's it for that. Just those two. Let me make sure. Let me look at my recipe just to make sure. What we're supposed to add. Oh, chicken stock. I knew it was something that I was forgetting. So I already pre-made some chicken stock.
So it's not supposed to be a thickened sauce?
No.
Okay.
but it will thicken a little bit because you are because
Had
of the
some flour that was on the meat.
Yes. How much is this chicken stock? Let me see. I think everything is like 1/3.
Third cup.
Yeah, 1/3. 1/3.
So white wine, white Zinfandel.
Yeah.
Then you had lemon juice, 1/3 cup, and 1/3 cup of chicken stock.
Yeah. I don't know why I can't read that right here, but oh, yeah, 1/3.
So, and of course the chicken was the chicken with some flour on it, salt and pepper, and some olive oil. This is a pretty simple meal.
It is, and it's not long. It's not.
Right.
It doesn't take a lot of time. It's very simple, and it's very tasty.
So, I'm Greek, and you don't anything lemon Greeks love. So we're all about.
I think that my people were in the Mediterranean
Could
because
be.
I love Italian and Mediterranean food.
You know, the tribe of Dan actually had set up camp, not camp, but they set up a outpost in Sparta, where because they did a lot of trade with the Spartans.
Right.
And if you read, we don't really mess with the Apocrypha too tough.
Right.
But if you read, I want to say it's, I don't think it's Maccabees. It might be Maccabees, Second Maccabees,
Oh,
where there's letters that were,
turn it up a little
turn
bit.
it up.
Yep.
There were letters exchanged between the king of Sparta and the high priest that said, we know that we are blood relations through history.
Right.
And so they were affirming a kinship
Okay.
with Sparta, which was not, originally Sparta was not part of Greece proper.
Right. Right.
So it's the southern part. And it was its own nation state, city-state. So, yeah, there's some. So if you read these letters, it would tell you there's some blood relations between the Spartans of old and the Israelites, at least the tribe of Dan.
Yeah, and when I was reading in that Timbuktu.
Yeah, that's from Babylon to Timbuktu.
He said the island of Crete.
Which is even today is contested a little bit between Greece and Turkey. Turkey and Greece have not gotten along. Turkey occupied Greece for a long time.
Right.
Enslaved them. But yeah, so then there's also the school of thought. Since we're cooking, we'll have some cooking talk. The school of thought that the original peoples of the southern part of Europe were pushed out.
Right.
So that they were more of a people of color like the Israelites, even though they weren't. But it's hard to tell. Now, what are you putting on there?
This is parsley, Italian parsley.
Cilantro?
Parsley.
Okay, just parsley.
Just parsley. Just probably for adornment. Now we're going to put some capers. Capers in as well. Drained already. Rest of those in. I love capers.
Yeah.
And we're going to take our vegan butter that, I still have over here.
Plant-based vegan butter.
Yep, and we're going to put that into.
It looks like butter.
Yep, it tastes like butter. It is butter. No, I'm just joking. But yeah. So.
Let me see if I can get a close-up of this here meal now. It's looking kind of good, huh, folks?
Yeah. And this is the butter. It's called Earth Balance Organic Vegan Butter. And it is plant-based. Let's see.
Well, so is margarine, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Here, you need somebody wearing glasses already?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Thank you. I'll get in the shot for a moment. Kind of.
Go ahead.
I'm too you're shorter than that. Ingredients: vegetable oil blend, palm fruit, soybean, canola oils. Water, salt contains less than 2% of natural flavor. Defatted soy flour, soy lecithin, lactic acid to protect freshness. Annatto extract contains soy organic ingredients. This is your organic butter.
Yep.
Earth Balance.
Yep. And it's really good. It's really buttery. I didn't think it would be, but it actually is. So while that's still simmering down, we can go to the salad, which is just some spinach.
Yay.
With, this is terrible, I forgot the name of this lettuce.
Oh, that's the leaf lettuce.
Arugula
Arugula?
Yes.
Arugula.
Yes.
This is going to be like the worst cooking section.
Yeah.
People don't know what they're talking about.
I know, right? But that's
Whatever.
why we
It's going to
keep
be
it
good.
real on
Yes.
the wall,
There,
okay?
right. Look at the look. Look.
As long as it tastes good, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I'd say clipped audio. I guess I was too loud for the camera. We just keep it informal here on the walk.
Yes. And so I cut up my
Cucumbers?
cucumbers. I like the, actually, you know what I like? I like they call them,
The seedless ones?
well, they're not, these are seedless, which I have had the ones that were, had seeds in it. But they're called English cucumbers. I actually like them better because they're sweeter.
They're kind of ridged, right? They're long and ridged?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then we have some
Red onions, which
red onions.
absolute best onions you can eat.
And I did, by the way, I did wash my hands, so.
So, the English, one of their delicacies, well, I don't know if it's a delicacy, one of the things they eat is cucumber sandwiches,
Oh.
which is just a cucumber, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's sweeter.
Yeah. Would you like olives?
I'm Greek, you're asking me Greek.
And we have some sweetie.
I
You
don't
ever
know.
had these?
No, I don't know
Pepper
those.
sweetie drops. They are really good.
Okay.
I mean, they just give a little different effect, but they're really good. So John is my first victim.
Oh, man.
See how delicious this is coming along?
It looks delicious.
You can't. You just got. I think people need options. Like there are not like enough options out there. People get kind of. Oops. I gotta change this out. But people get kind of caught up in their own culture and everything's about
Yeah,
soul
and
food
plus,
and,
yeah, I hear you. And for me, it's about convenience, right? So it's got to be quick and easy.
Right.
So this looks definitely sufficiently quick and easy.
We're done with that. And we have some tomatoes.
Love
On the
tomatoes.
vine. You don't like them?
I love them. Love tomatoes.
I washed these. I pre-washed these.
Those are dead ripe too, which I also love.
Okay. Some sweetie drops.
You haven't tried those. It looks intriguing.
Yep.
I think we're going to have to write the lesson down and put it on the site also. You know,
Yeah.
post it under the video or something.
Okay.
All right, once you played it, I'm going to cut close. We're going to close out with a close-up
So
of this here meal.
This is a good healthy meal for diabetics.
And
And I
the most
literally-
important part is going to be the good part. So look at this, y'all.
And I literally looked up diabetic meals, and this is what came up. So,
That's a delicious meal. It don't matter what's wrong with you.
yep,
All right, so now we're cooking on the walk.
yeah.
We will see you next week. Here, we'll get a group shot going
Yeah.
here. We will see you next time, not next week, next time.
Yeah, next time.
On the walk.
On the walk.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.